Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome to tea. Tea with, with me and with everybody else here, and anybody you might be sitting there with, or chatting with. I've been thinking a lot lately about this idea of God, and somebody once asked me about. They said they were an atheist, and I said, so was I. I said, what? How can you be that? And said, I don't believe in the same God you don't believe in. So I guess that makes me an atheist. I don't believe in a personal God. That's why I chose the subject of God is not a person. If God's a person, then, man, we're all screwed, right? He's going to have personal characteristics. By definition, God will be finite. It'll be, male or female or hermaphrodite. Sorry about the noisy airplanes. It's going to have some form, right? If it's a personal being, it's got to have some form, which means that it has limits. There would be limits to it. And that's how most people think about it, trying to imagine this infinite being in a personal body. And of course, what happens is we end up projecting all sorts of things on it, our own characteristics on it, our own egotism, our own jealousy, our own violence, our own capriciousness. We tend to project out onto God pretty much all the things that we don't want to own about ourselves. So the very best of us is also projected out there with, wisdom and love and patience. I mean, it should occur to us that, wisdom and love and violence and capriciousness are not going to be occupying the same space. Something is really off. What's happening is that what in fact is simply an idea that's very active in consciousness, a very powerful idea. It refers to the true nature of things, my true nature, the true nature of life and being and existence. And it gets turned into a historical fact, which means at that point, God becomes frozen in time. What it actually becomes is a culture trying to make some kind of a supernatural or a priori justification for the rules and laws that are purely man-made and purely cultural and subject to change, and really just a particular way human beings organized in a particular place in a particular time. And so if we can instead redeem that, and the only reason it's worth talking about this is because the concept of God is bandied about quite a bit and is used to justify all sorts of things. Every jihad and crusade was justified in the name of a god and competing gods, right? And the proof was in the pudding. Your God was superior if you won. And was inferior if you lost, or more likely it wasn't inferior, but God was punishing you because you didn't follow the rules. That's why things went south. So instead, what if we were to look at God as not a person, right? And see if you can set that aside, because we've all been indoctrinated into that, right? Anybody who grew up in the West, right, that is outside of Asia or India or that area, was indoctrinated in this idea of a personal God at arm's length. And the way you have a relationship with him is to accept him on his terms, no matter what, even if they don't make any sense, and to obey his rules. And it was a he. So if we instead look at it and put all of that aside, right, and any influence in us that may linger, we can begin to look at God as an ever-changing, ever-evolving idea of the absolute, whatever that is, right? And how we experience absolute being, absolute love, absolute truth is going to be constantly shifting, right? Constantly shifting. The truth itself, and this is the great mystery, the truth itself is changeless. It's eternal. It's self-sustaining. It's self-validating. It's self-luminous. It doesn't require anything to make it shine of light. But it's not the kind of light that you can directly see. Like, I love to use the example, if you're looking up at the night sky and you see the moon, right? Full moon, all illuminated. It's wonderful. We fall in love under it. We write poetry and music and all sorts of stuff. It's just bathes this landscape in this beautiful light. And we think of the moon all lit up and it's sitting in darkness. But the truth of the matter is there's as much light around the moon as there is coming off it. Actually, there's orders of magnitude more around it, but you don't see it simply because nothing is reflecting it. So the light itself remains completely invisible until something reflects it. And what reflects it is just going to vary from time to time, like the moon waxes and wanes, right? The new moon all the way to the full moon and everything in between, very beautifully, gradually. And so every culture, every time, every period, every individual, in some way, is a manifestation of that. The unchanging truth, which gets manifested in a forever changing form. The form is never static. It never sits still. The moment you make it sit still, you petrify it. That's where Joseph Campbell referred to it as a petrifact. It's a petrified fact, and what happens is, inevitably, because it cannot stand the test of time, it gets increasingly virulent, it gets increasingly closed, it gets increasingly aggressive, it gets increasingly fundamentalist, because it doesn't work. The idea doesn't work anymore. I mean, rather than upgrading the idea, they want to downgrade the progress and everything that's going on in order to make it fit the idea, to hold on to this view of things. Now, it's a difficult thing. People don't want to let go of their beliefs. Nobody does, right? Nobody wants to let go of the things that bring them a feeling of safety, of belonging, of being valued and loved, of having a place, which is what the petrified religions do. They give you a place to be. But if you find the unchanging truth, the light that's always there, even when a tiny bit of it is being reflected, well, you found the actual changelessness, and there's no need any longer to hold on to anything. But we have to let go of this idea that somehow there's this personal being judging you, that there's some kind of ultimate standard that's a secret to you, but you have to live up to it anyway, that you have to conform to. And every thought, every feeling, everything is being watched and scrutinized. And we carry that around. I mean, we do. It's called the idea of shame. I don't know the rules, and yet I have to be responsible for following them. If we can let go of that whole thing, right, that there is no judge up there. There's nothing and no one judging you, no one measuring you. And the only thing we have to concern ourselves with is being wise enough and open enough to let in the experience of the natural consequences of our actions. I don't need some super being threatening me with pain and suffering. When all I do is do something, it hurts, I know I'm suffering from it, I don't do it again. It's really very simple. You only put your hand in a fire once. And if we can do that, you really begin to cultivate the genuine wisdom. And the genuine wisdom is the wisdom that we could refer to as God, as the ultimate seeing. And it's going to change over time. Certain things that are quite acceptable at one time are not acceptable in another, that cause great, wonderful things to happen in one era don't in another era. There was a time when we could just take as much as we wanted from the earth because there was so much of it. Now we can't do that anymore. because there's a natural consequence to to our doing that, and yet we want to cling to the old way, even though the natural consequences of our actions are just right there in our face, but we don't really want to let go. Our beliefs comfort us. Told this before, I'll tell this story again. There was a man who had kind of lost his stuff, and he was convinced he was dead. So he wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting around. His family got really worried about him. You know, he wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting there claiming he was dead. So they took him off to an institution to see if he could be helped. And none of the psychologists could reach him. But there was this one very clever psychologist who talked to him. He came in and says, I know you're dead. So it's okay. I'm not going to try to convince you. I know you are. So what I want to do is find proof that I can show your family, so they'll know you are, and we can end this whole thing, and you can go home. It'll be great. He said, great idea. He says, well, so tell me, do dead people bleed? And he says, no, they don't bleed at all. He says, okay, so I'm going to prick your finger here, and it's not going to bleed, and then we can prove it to your family. He says, fine. He holds out his finger, pricks the finger, and it starts to bleed. And the man says, well, I'll be damned. Dead people do bleed. This is the nature of beliefs. This is the nature of these strong convictions we have that we hold on to because they make us feel safe. And it takes a real willingness, and I have to say, a well-developed sense of humor to really walk on this spiritual path, to really be able to be present with your own foibles and notice the places where we give our power away, we divest ourselves, we defer to others rather than trusting our own intuition and conviction, at least trusting enough to find out for yourself if something is wrong. Every time we defer to somebody else and allow them to make the choices for us rather than just you get information and then you make a choice for yourself, you've created a God. You have externalized your own inner authority. And that owning that inner authority is absolutely crucial to spiritual awakening. There has to be a conviction that arises, right? And when we first have a great spiritual experience, the inspiration, the clarity is just so grand. It's wonderful, right? And if you're in like a retreat setting or something like that, there'll be this incredible opening, and you'll feel like that aperture is never going to close again. Then you get back home, you get into your normal environment, all sorts of buttons are getting pushed, and the clarity's gone. This is where we begin to cultivate the genuine authority and conviction in what we've actually come to see. Because it's going to be challenged by just all the old habits and patterns and momentum that we've been practicing for lifetimes. And so God is your consciousness, all right? Not some abstract thing out there. God, pure consciousness, pure awareness, Buddha nature. It is pure consciousness. It is pure awareness, and it's yours. It's the one that's hearing me right now. It is simply another name for me, for the self. Now, if you see God as a person, what I just said is the most egotistical and blasphemous thing you could possibly say. That's the human ego claiming that it is this grand thing. But it's when you see it in its true sense, that it is being itself, that it is the consciousness that is experiencing everything, that it is that God being that is looking out through the eyes, your eyes right now, and that it's not personal. It's not an ego. It's not a form. It's not a particular self. It is just, it's not even made of anything. It's not like you can go and find fundamental particles. And so you can begin to grasp the fact that, oh, God is not a person. This consciousness is God. The I am is not a person. I'm not a person. The person is just a set of qualities that are appearing, right? I mean, look at it very closely. The sense, the person. Now, what's the person, right? It's, these particular characteristics that define you. You know me. I've got white hair and I've got a blue shirt on, and I talk a lot, and I sit here and do stuff, right? I have a certain kind of character, certain qualities, the sound of the voice, the word choice, all these things that make up a unique individual are in fact just the manifestation of the indescribable one that needs an infinite number of forms to give it expression because it's infinite in nature. And so those qualities are not a person. Look inside, you won't find a person. You won't find one in there. It's when they say that, look, see if you can find the one who's suffering. Find the one who's upset. You will find upsetness. You will find a sense of suffering. You will find a sense of happiness. You will find a sense of craving or desire. You'll find all of those feelings. But if you look closely, you'll see there's no person feeling them. What's feeling them is impersonal consciousness. Now, this is important, right? Because they are being felt, obviously. But the notion that there's a person feeling them is an idea. It's a concept. And it's being projected on what, in fact, has no person at all. Or as the Buddhists put it, no self. There's no self there. It is nothing but a process, a bunch of functionings, things going on. As Buckminster Fuller put it, I seem to be a verb. There's just this constant motion happening, but a motionless consciousness watching it. And if we drop the concept of a personal God, you automatically drop the concept of a personal person, of a personal you. So that you are, what you are is that infinite consciousness. How it appears is the particular human form that you are experiencing. Those two are one. They are not separate. Which means that the appearance, the form, the human being is unbelievably significant. It is infinitely important because you are the way the infinite consciousness is manifesting itself. And if we can reconnect ourselves back up to that, well, we've never actually been separated from it. The sense is being reconnected to it. Like when you have that great awakening experience at some point, there's that sense of I've reconnected, but in fact, you were never separated in the first place. You can't separate the music and the song. You can't do it. They're both critical. Music is unexpressed without a soul, so it isn't music, right? Love without some kind of expression of it, you can't call it love. It has to have both pieces of the puzzle, which means that that this human form is the one divine being. It's not something else. It's not a creation of it. It's not an extension of it. It is it. And this means that we can call it God, we can call it Buddha nature, you can call it pure consciousness, you can call it the Christ mind. It doesn't matter what you call it. Just recognize the best word for it is me. It's me. It's me. There is to me a personal, or that a persona, it has to be there, otherwise the impersonal me is not expressed. You can even call it, if you like, you can call it source energy, right? Or the universe, which people like to do, connecting up to source energy. It's pure consciousness. It's you. It is yourself. Now, you may feel a lot of resistance to that because the sense of self is itself a functioning of the nervous system that persists even though you come to see it. The mission, the practice is so stepping back from that you see it as a functioning. The functioning of the nervous system functions as if it were a person, right? Because it's an individual thing. It reflects the selfness of the infinite self. So you simply withdraw your attention from it. It's not like there's the ego there that's got you, right? There's nothing there. It's just a functioning, right? It's like Siri. I use that example all the time. I say, "Hey Siri, ask some question." "I'm sorry, I don't know." I mean, it answers in first person as if there was somebody there. There's nobody there. The difference between that AI and all that kind of stuff and you is there is somebody there with you. There is somebody who really does exist, who is self-aware and is aware of everything. Let the sense of I, the I am, which is another name for God, let the I am become me, my I am. I am that. I am that I am. Get it? That's what it really means. I am that I am. Not the one I thought I was, but that one, the only one there is. So on that note, I didn't know it was going to go on this long. Matter of fact, about 4 minutes in, I think I'm going to run out of things to say. It felt like I was hitting a denouement, and then all of a sudden, all of this. So, okay, well, that'll be the day when I don't have anything to say, I guess, huh? This body mind seems to be built for chatter. Sorry, I have to have my my morning drink with superfood and electrolytes and apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar. Wow, what a kick. Hello, everybody. Roberto, well, you spent the day with me before you head off to the beach. I'm honored. So good to see you, brother. Rosario, also in Madrid. There's Mary and Andy. Hello to everybody. Everybody chatting back and forth. Hello, 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 hello. There's Robbie and Ava and Richard. Oh, good to see you, Richard. Yeah, great to catch you too. And Remington, hello, Remy. Good to see you. Karina, wonderful. Mary, great topic. Thank you. You're welcome. Paula in London. There's my buddies David and Elaine. And Grimace. The only reason God would make a place like this would be to trick themselves and live amongst a bunch of characters he created in the same image to gain wisdom through experience. It's kind of like that, but we can't actually conceive of the consciousness, the God, that can do that and yet still remain God, completely untouched by all of it. I'm not sure it's possible to even conceive it, but that has to be the way it is. Music doesn't get lost in a song, right? Music goes into one song, right? And then that's it, can't get out again. It doesn't get lost in it. So the tricking that's going on is part of the dream. It's part of the character of the experience of people being tricked. But the ultimate seer cannot be tricked. It is the pure knowing. If the pure knowing, the truth, could be tricked, it wouldn't be truth anymore. So it's a very subtle one, and it's really not important to try to articulate it that much, but to just realize that everything that's being experienced is the fruit of consciousness. But what is being experienced is the truth. It's always the truth. It's just forever taking different forms. And the forms it takes are quite subtle, but yet quite complex and quite engaged. A human life is an enormously complex thing when you really look at it. But what it means is that the the joy of consciousness is like watching this image of itself wake up to itself. And in that process, the experience of that self becomes better and better and better, because when, with the dissolution of that sense of I and the re-identification with the I am, with that dissolution comes the liberation of everything, including your desires, your aspirations, what you want to accomplish, your dreams. They become purified. They become, oh, they're part of the deal. So limitations get taken off, which means that you can be all you can be. Whatever this form is capable of being, it's freed to do that, right? Because it's no longer this separate thing struggling to get back to God. It is the very manifestation of God, which means it reflects the infinite capacity of God, the infinite creativity of God in a very specific way. It's a point of perception through which all the rest is seen, which means everything else is also God in a particular form. So I'm simply learning to look and see myself everywhere, as long as myself is not the person. The moment it becomes the person, there's another. When I'm not the person, there's nothing but God. Ramana put it this way: when the self is present, the world is absent. When the world is present, the self is absent. That sense of self and other. But the thing I like to point out is that it frees human life to be expressive and expansive and grow, because the nature of the expression is forever expanding and developing itself without ever exhausting the source. So there are no limits on the expression. To say I am limited is to say that somehow God, the truth, pure consciousness, got limited. Not possible. It ain't possible. So there are no limitations on the form. The only thing is the form has a particular definition, right? So this form is not another form. This form, but that's not a limitation. It's a definition. Just like, the piano is one instrument, the flute's another, the violin is another. There's no limitations for any of them, but they each have an individual character that gives expression to the whole range of possibilities. And if you notice, they've changed over time. You listen to medieval instruments and then the Baroque era, the piano didn't exist when Mozart was writing stuff, right? It was 1800 before the piano, and now there's the piano. And then now electric instruments and synthesizers and all sorts of weird looking things. I've seen some really strange, and and guess what? There'll never be an end to that. There will never be an end to that. I just got myself a brand new instrument that's never existed before. The guy invented it. And I've used it on the last video I put out about called resonant frequency. I used that in it. It's just this marvelous thing, because the other one I have was also a kind of a new invention, my tongue drum. So you see, there's no limits on you, right? There are none. It's not a limit for you to simply be yourself and explore all of the dimensions of what you are capable of. And the more you have identified yourself with the self, the infinite, indescribable it, I like to call it, the less sense of limitation there is. It's really important for me to make note, especially to make it clear, especially around in non-dual inquiry, there can be this real sense of the unimportant insignificance of human life. But without human life, God is nothing. So, thank you, Grimace. Mary likes the idea of petrified religion. That's a good. Hello, Dale. Good to see you. Mary, my own indoctrination was that no matter what I did growing up in the 60s and 70s, was all wrong, no matter what they were. Yes, it was all wrong. Born wrong. Original sin. That's, you're born wrong. The boy's just not right, Margaret. It's just not right. Yeah. And this is such a violent and ugly belief system that, it was created by the Roman Empire. It was created by as a means of mind control, because they were really good at that stuff. I mean, it was all about conquering. And listen to the language of the evangelicals, and it is all about conquering, or being persecuted. Because I can't enforce my will on you, I'm being persecuted. Interesting concept. But I'm feeling the influence of that horrible doctrine seeping out of your system, Mary. I'm so happy about that. I actually had many students who had a background in the evangelical, and the damage that it does is just unbelievable. So Mary says, I get this intellectually. Does it take total acceptance to embody this, as Sri Nisargadatta says? Well, yeah. Well, no. First off, it's a recognition that you are embodying it. You just don't think you are, because you think there's somebody there who has to get back to God. And that's just a concept. So God, you can't stop God from being God. Therefore, this is being embodied, right? But you don't think it is, because the identification with this other self. So you think I'm not there yet. What you just said was, yep, I'm still under sin. I'm still missing the mark. And somehow this personal I, has to totally surrender and accept this, and then I will be it, right? What you totally surrender to and accept is that you already are that. And you already have accepted that. You do know it. It's just that there's this momentum, there's these old habit patterns of thought and feeling that are still there, that are operating under the old regime, the way you used to operate, right? And so that's it, right? You're redeeming that. You're bringing this out of the realm of the darkness and into the light through loving awareness. So you just see that, this is just the mechanism that was dutifully obeying what I believed to be true for so many years. So it got implemented in there, and it even got made automatic. And now I've got to tell it, oops, my bad, I need you to do something else. Because remember, it's just a mechanism, right? It's not a person, it's not a thing, it's not holding any grudges. It's just a mechanism. It's like a rescue dog. You just have to retrain it. And obviously retraining something is harder than training something from the get-go. Nonetheless, you can do it, right? We all do it. And the moment you know that is the task, not that there's not a me that has to surrender. You've already surrendered, and now you're taking the surrender to the rest of the troops, saying, the war's over. We can all go home now. And they go, are you sure? Are you sure? How do you know? How do you know? I don't know. It seems pretty strange out there. And you go, okay, just kind of let it go. Okay. You guys, it's okay. I'm just going to love you back into this. I'm going to show you that the war is over. And you do that, becoming so lovingly safe for yourself. And that when these feelings come up, you go, oh, there it is again. Bless its heart. All it's trying to do is protect me from this threat I imagined was real, that had been pumped into me since I was a small child. And I now know that there is no such threat. And I'm just bringing the good news. I'm bringing the gospel to the rest of me. And so even the statement, I hear this a lot, I get this intellectually. It's really a way of a very subtle way that we get cut off, that we think There's understanding, and then there's a super level of understanding. There's a super consciousness or something. Just stop with this. I get it. I see it. Right? I see it. It has not completely colonized the rest of me. All these old habits and patterns and stuff. It hasn't touched everything yet, but it's touched my vision. It's touched my heart. You felt this in your heart. It isn't just intellectual. You felt the sense of relief. You felt the sense of the resonant frequency of truth. You felt it, which is why you're persisting on it. And also it's why you got angry, right? So, if in this new context, like, wow, that was so unjust. It was cruel. It was brutal. It was barbaric, right? And so there's anger there. That's part of the awakening. That's an energy now that you turn into, okay, that is what happened to us. All the thoughts and feelings and things inside of me that are still afraid. And so I'm going to show you there's nothing to be afraid of by me not being fearful, by me becoming so safe and loving that you can't help but just melt. The way a child just kind of melts into the arms of the loving mother. So Mary continued. Mary, I have to go back to YouTube because I believe we missed about 2 minutes of your opening here. Really? Okay. Wow, that sucks. It said live. Wow, maybe YouTube didn't. I'll check it afterwards. So anyway, Andy said, this is fuzzy, but I'll share it anyway. If God is not a person, then neither am I. I think I covered that. Yeah. And that's what you just now said, GP. Wonderful. God is not a person, so there is no person. Right? And you can look around in nature and see it. Right? Look at the tree. Is there a person there? Is there something deciding in the morning about getting out the to-do list as to what fruit it's going to have to produce and what leaves are going to have to be there? And does it get all panicky as fall comes and I'm turning brown? Oh my God, I'm naked! Everything falling off. It's just this beautiful. That's surrender. It's not an act of surrender. It's just, this is what I am. Right? And yes, there's consciousness there. It is not a machine. There are no machines in the universe, really. The whole mechanistic view of the universe is really being challenged by some really notable people. I'm now reading Morphic Resonance by Rupert Sheldrake, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist. It just breaks apart all the places where the materialistic model just doesn't really explain things. And that, in fact, just assuming that eventually it will is not science, it's faith. So where then is the person if it's just a concept? And if you're free to the concept, you're free to the limitations on the functioning, because it's no longer stuck in being in the box of this concept, saying, well, this is what I am. I'm not that. Well, maybe you are. You don't know. Maybe there's way more to you than you could possibly imagine. And everything in the universe is like that. The universe is that. Right? It is this one gigantic, incredibly complex and intricate, interdependent functioning in which every single piece part is necessary. Every cell in my finger is needed to make that finger. And every cell in your body is needed to make the body that you are, driving around in. Not really driving around. You're experiencing existence through. There must be a form in order for there to be experience. The formless cannot be experienced. So by its very nature of self-expression, it generates form in real time. It's not even a creation. It's not like an act of creation or an act of will. I think I'm going to make this, and then makes it. It is a spontaneous arising. It's God plays jazz. Uh, Andy said, Mary, this has me thinking of Nizzard as well. We'll see what GP has to say. Okay. Sue Shaw, hello, Sue. Welcome to you from the UK. King Buzz, hi, GP from Nigeria. Ah, wow, great, fantastic. The shame, the workshop I'm doing on shame, which I may now change to liberating desire, because I think that's probably more accurate, certainly more positive than healing shame. I'm going to be doing it in a time zone that I think might work for you over there in Nigeria. I think you're 12 hours ahead of me. So I'm doing it so I can get people in Nigeria, Thailand, all of Africa, India. Maybe too early in I don't know what time it is there now, so maybe not. But I'm trying to get every time zone in the whole world, so the whole world will be there. I've reserved 8 billion seats on Zoom, so there's room for everybody. Hello, Peter, my buddy in Italy. Carl, hi, G. I still can't understand how our God consciousness can hide behind lower vibrational emotions like fear, shame, doubt. It still saddens me that I'm only waking up this in my 50s. Well, I'm in my 70s, and I'm still waking up. Learn to love the process, right? Because that's all there is. As Suzuki Roshi said, who was he's the fellow that brought this stuff big. It was like 1898 or something like that. There was a World's Fair. It was the first international conference of religions, and it's the first time that Zen came to the United States, or to the West, period. And he made this most beautiful comment. He said, "There are no enlightened beings. There are only enlightened moments." If we think of enlightenment or awakening as a point in time, we will find ourselves the donkey chasing the carrot. It isn't a point in time. It is this moment. This moment is the awakening. If you see that every moment you have the opportunity to open your heart or close it, to see things as unified or to see things as disparate, then in that moment, the freedom to see things as they are is the awakened moment. And so there's nobody really waking up. And maybe after everything has been said so far, that might make a little bit more sense. There's no person that's waking up, right? Awakening is awakening, right? It's really even hard to put into words. There's a realization that you are never asleep. Nobody's asleep. That there is an image of somebody asleep, but that's not who you are. You are the pure consciousness aware of that. And the asleepness looks like fear and shame. And if you look at it closely, right, and take the extremes out of it, the fear that we have and anxiety that we have, even shame, is the nervous system trying to protect itself. Period. It's life protecting life, which is what it does. The form wants to sustain itself. The nature of the form is to sustain itself, just like the tree. Everything does that. Right? The tree has its way of doing it. We have our way of doing it. And in the nervous system, that fear takes the form of anxiety or shame or guilt or any of these kinds of things, simply because it believes, wrong word really, it finds that if it does that, if it creates that sensation and feeling and emotion in the body, that the body doesn't do the thing that earned the distress that caused it pain. And so these are simply vehicles that were created by the system itself, not like created like, thinking it out, just in the way its own nature responding to the environment. And so it created them because they work. Right? Now you wake up and you see that, and you don't, shame, why is this here? Why is this so horrible? Well, it's not. It's there because it's a protective mechanism. So what do? You make the mechanism feel as if they're not necessary to do that anymore. And it'll drop it because it's adaptive. It's only responding to the environment. Right? So, uh, yeah, they are low vibration for sure, right? Obviously, shame and self-love have a very different frequency level, but not let's not forget, red light is a low frequency, violet is a high frequency, ultraviolet's even higher, infrared's even lower, right? They're all the same. They're all light. Right? They're all made of the same stuff. So awakening, enlightenment is not a disposal of those. It's they get transformed. Buddha said this all the time. It's being transformed. The Four Noble Truths of suffering are also the Four Noble Truths of happiness, right? Right views end suffering. And when you end suffering, what do you got? Happiness. And so you see, oh, fear needs to be transformed, not disposed of. It needs to be seen for what it actually is, just life protecting life. It's not a personal comment. It's not a personal problem. It's like it just happens to be stuck in a place right now that it's assuming there's a danger where there isn't. And it's your job to show it that there isn't, to bring the gospel to the body. And you can see how it saddens me. I'm only waking up to this in my 50s. Is in fact a way of castigating yourself. It's a way of that sense of a personal self can still hold on, right? Because if we can get to see that every single step in your life was absolutely necessary in order for the awakening to take place, in order for any awakening to take place, that there was no missteps, there were no mistakes, there was nothing, everything that happened had to happen. Not like it's predestined, right? That there's somebody up there with, the Akashic records laying it all out. It's just the events just congealed. The energy of liberation, which is that which is already liberated, gently asserting itself on the image of it not being liberated, is constantly happening. The power that brought me here must bring me home, is how Rumi put it. And so you can actually kind of dull the fruit of the awakening, which is visible all around you, right? But this thought, only waking up in my 50s, becomes like the thumb blocking the sun, right? You can do it, right? A tiny little thought getting caught like that can block out the great light of awakening. What do you awaken to? You awaken to that you've never been asleep, so that it doesn't matter you're 50 or 150 or 3. It doesn't matter, right? And so you're 50. So what? Somebody could get it at 20, but they'd had 500,000 lives, right? We just can't put it into that context. Instead, cultivate the sense of freedom, the sense of happiness, a sense of love. This all there is to the awakening is this moment. Right? Can I open my heart to me, to others, to this moment, to the feelings that I'm having? If I can do that, I am the enlightened being. I am in that moment the Buddha. And that's all there is to it. And then when you forget you're the Buddha, it doesn't mean you're not the Buddha. You're still the Buddha. You just forgot. You got temporary amnesia. Thank you, Carl. Facebook user, GP, you've been my most beloved and personally close teacher for many years, but my God, man, lately your content, including the EFTs you record, are on another level. Remarkable. Well, thank you, whoever you are, up there on Facebook. Yeah, just some new things have just opened up, awakened in me. I don't claim to be Buddha, right? I am, but I don't. But you kind of sit back and go, as Ram Dass said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. So you realize that enlightenment is just a perpetually unfolding theme. Awakening is a theme, a motif that's playing forever out in the universe. And if there wasn't an asleepness, there couldn't be the experience of awakening, even though the essence, the pure consciousness, the God self is never asleep. It's forever witnessing this, the theme, the motif of awakening over and over and over again. So even in the deep asleepness, the deep darkness, there is the reality of light that could not be known were it not for the darkness. The awakening could not be experienced if it wasn't for the sleep. And therein lies the joy of it. So even the sleep is part of the awakening. It's almost like it's just like an imaginary negation of it, right? There's something has to actually exist in order to even speculate about its non-existence. The opposite, when you turn, we turn on lights. We don't turn on the dark sucker, right? It's not a dark bulb. and the light is left, right? It's simply the absence, and you cannot define the absence without the presence. You simply can't. And so the reality is always the presence, but it appears as the yin yang kind of thing, right? Sometimes use the example of a triangle, a triangular hole in the wall, right? It's a triangle. Well, no, it isn't. It's a hole. There's nothing there. It's a triangular shaped nothing. Right? And so, yeah, I hope things get better. I hope my content gets better. I hope my the processes by which I engage the nervous system and bring it into healing. I hope it gets faster. Right? I hope I get better at what I do. Because there is no end to it, right? There is no end. There's no point at which you arrive and say, I'm awake, right? And it's like, oh, look, there's a moment of awakening. And then I can go and say, oh, look, I was sound asleep. I could only say that from the point of awakening, right? So the awakening is a theme playing out over and over and over again. It is the reality that cannot be changed. And so we experience it as a human life. And as a human life, it's experienced as falling from grace and the realization of grace. Falling into a sense of a personal self and then awakening from a sense of a personal self. Oh, I hope that's clear, Carl, and Facebook user and everybody else too. It's I just had this impulse to really put out a bunch of stuff about EFT. To embrace healing, right? I'm a non-dual teacher, and the essence of it is totally non-dual. And in the non-dual, there's nobody to be healed, right? And I take that non-dual truth and I bring it into the world and bring about healing. So it will appear as if somebody's getting healed or relieved or liberated in some way, but the reality is the one who needed to be healing is disappearing. It never existed in the first place, and the reality of the one is appearing. And if I do that through tapping on some people's faces or doing a meditation or however it happens, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because those are all just skillful means. They're just the tools in the toolbox. What you're building is that sense of a self that has no opposite. That sense of self that is completely merged with the one, the nature of which is pure, absolute, indescribable love. End of sermon. Can I get an amen? You guys are fun. Oh, apple cider vinegar. Wow. Mary, the misidentification with that consciousness. Yes, thank you for the reminder. You're welcome. It's my job. You're all awakening, and right now I'm the alarm clock. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. You're right. I can't unrighteousness the bell. No, you can't. Can't unring that bell. No, you can't. Yeah. The days are numbered for the old regime. Hello, Quack. Hi to you. Jay, thank you, G, for yesterday's class. The big takeaway I got from that is to trust what I realized. And it isn't anything else because letting go was so confusing. And just out of nowhere from our conversation, I was finally able to see the obvious symptoms of letting go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Jay is talking about my class called The Healing of Shame. If you're not in it, you should be. Let me just put a little thing up there. I'm going to do a little commercial here real quick in purple. I did that because Lisa was wearing purple the other day. Just homeschool.ca/heal shame. I'm doing it 3 times. The first one's already happened, but the replay's there. I'm doing it on 3 different days, a Saturday, a Thursday, and then a week after that on a Friday night. And the Friday night will be like 5 o'clock my time, which is like morning, very early morning, and like 5 o'clock. No, I got to go by Eastern time. So it's 8 o'clock Eastern time, which means it's like 10 o'clock in the morning in Sydney, in noon in New Zealand. I'm doing that for all the people out east. And it really is just a bunch. We're just processing. It's not a lot of info. I'm not trying to educate anybody. We're just kind of bringing to the nervous system. And I used a lot of EFT yesterday. I may again. We're bringing the message that it's okay. You're safe. You're valuable. You're loved. You don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to create these feelings of shame to keep yourself safe. Because that's all it is. If you can establish an inner space of safety, the nervous system itself, because it is nothing but an adaptive function responding to the environment, it's not a self or a person. The moment it senses that environment has become safe, it begins to adapt to it. And if it's consistent, it assumes it's going to be consistent, and safety becomes its default point of view. So please join me. End of commercial. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Boy, just kind of hopped all over the place here. All right, there's Jay. Good. Merck. Hello, Merck. Sunny Sweden. Yay. We had sun before. This is pretty good sun for this area. Mary Sykes. So if we don't have it all down and right now, it doesn't mean we're hypocrites. Oh, God, no. It's getting deeper to me, GP. Yay. No, of course not. You can't be a hypocrite. There's just inner conflict, right? There's all the ways I used to be, right? That I practiced it so well that it's automatic. And then there's what I actually am and the realization of what I am. And now the realization simply has to be allowed to sink in. Okay? And the process of doing that, if we think of it, I get this all done, so then sometime I'll be really enlightened and perfect in the future. You've missed the boat. Because this is never going to be perfect. This is always going to be doing weird stuff because it's an adaptive reactive machine. So all it is I'm going to be loving towards whatever comes up in this moment. And that is the Buddha mind. That is the path. That is enlightenment. Yay. Yay. Jonas, blessed, exactly. Yeah, continue unfoldment of theme. Love it. The essence is never asleep, and yet paradoxically, there is this play of the theme of awakening. I love this so much. Oh, beautiful. Yes. I love that theme too. It's like, the example I love to use is Beethoven's Fifth, right? Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It's just, it's 4 notes. And 3 of them are the same. Da, 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 da. And then, I mean, a million different ways of saying exactly the same thing. The universe is an infinite number of ways of saying awakening. And because of that, we get things like Beethoven's Fifth. and Jimi Hendrix and John Coltrane and Robert Johnson and everything in between. the theme of harmony playing out over and over. David and Elaine heard a comment that awakening is not an experience. It's more the cessation of experience. Especially, we guess, the experience of being a person or separate self. Yes, experience have a beginning and an end. Awakening is timeless. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, awakening is the experience, oh, I'm not that, which means I am that. Right? So if even what I was saying before about being God, being the pure consciousness, resonated, that resonance that you felt, that's it. That's all there is to it. The resonance recognized self. The awakened you recognized the awakened you and the asleep you, right? And that sense of identification fell away from the nervous system, from the experience, from the human manifestation. And it could only do that because it was never actually a component of the awakening itself. But to express awakening, to express light, you must have dark. It's yin yang. To express the awakening, you must have asleepness. Otherwise, you don't have it. It's always the play of opposites. When we see it as the play of opposites, we will cease to see anything as a problem. When there's fear there, it'll not be, I've got to get rid of the fear. It'll be, oh, look, there's fear. I wonder what my body's doing. It's not a problem. The awakening does not stand in opposition to anything. Love doesn't stand in opposition to anything. So, Mary, you're not a hypocrite. Oh, heavens, no. Jay says amen. Thanks. Andy, your cup shaking after your sermon sounded like applause. Oh, that's good. The stuff always settles, so I have to stir it up in order to get all the good stuff. Let's see. Amen from Paula. Hello, Jennifer. Good to see you. And Jonas gave a laugh to Andy. Vigilant until my last breath. Yep, that's it. And it isn't to get somewhere. This is so key. Enlightenment is not a destination. You're not on the train to nirvana. It is simply this moment. What are you going to do with this moment? Right? You're going to be a Buddha? You're going to be a blumbler. I didn't have a quick enough wit for that one. So you're not going anywhere, folks. That's it. This is truly it. See it here. Feel it here. It's all just a shift of perception, which is not a destination. David, the liberating of desire is a good name for the workshop. The shame is holding all of that back. Yeah. Getting rid of the shame. It's like, okay, the shame's all gone. Now what? The reason we do that is to liberate this, to liberate the deeper purpose of human life, which is to give expression to your individual form, which is itself giving expression to the great being, to God, to the true self, to whatever you want to call it, the universe, source energy, call it whatever you want. It is. That is how it knows itself. The ocean knows itself through the waves. And so it is that liberation of our desires to bring them back to their purity. One of the things that the petrified religions do is they have to make you ashamed of what you can't help, your desires, right? And so they get enforced. And so desires are always suppressed in the interest of the particular culture. And then the culture invents a god to make it look as if it didn't just make this shit up, that this is handed on high. Moses came down and he had and he had 2 pizza boxes. I love that. The invention of lying. Ricky Gervais. It was very funny. Anyway, so God, I had a little story I was gonna tell there, and I can't remember it now. What was I talking about? The shame is holding all the expression back. Yeah, to release the desire so that you can just be a happy human, a harmonious human, so that the human becomes the Word made flesh. It becomes the speaking, the knowing of the one. And so life really becomes celebratory, and everyone you meet becomes this beautiful character, this beautiful, everyone you meet is God in disguise. As Muji put it, God in drag. Oh shoot, it was a good story too I wanted to share, and then it just left. Oh well, maybe it'll come back to me. Mary, I'm speaking about feeling like a hypocrite from my former years. Yeah, you would be a hypocrite, right? You're not supposed to even feel desire, right? Not even supposed to feel it. You're supposed to, it's got to be suppressed. If it even comes up, right? You better deny it. That's the devil talking, right? It's not you. It's not this is, if you listen to that, you're going to walk down the road to perdition. Right? And so, yeah, we'll feel like we're a phony. We'll feel like we're ashamed of our own feelings, but it brings everything back to its original innocence. Everything is innocent. Everything is the manifestation of that one, which means your desires aren't personal. I mean, is your desire to eat personal? Did you work that out and made a choice? I'm going to want to eat now, right? Our desire for companionship and lovemaking and meaningful work and all of these desires that we have, are they bad? These are all sinful? Or are they God's desires? Because that's, how else do you move? How else do you move life if it's not for desire? It is the motivation of life. It's the creative power of life. It's that which drives all expansion, right? Yes, we can get lost in them. We can project on the fulfillment of a desire something the desire does not actually possess, right? So we can go looking for love in all the wrong places, right? But that doesn't invalidate the desire. It just means that the desire arose in an environment that didn't really know what to do with it, and so try to deny it instead. Instead, the fulfillment of every desire is in the desire. You can't have one without the other. It's yin yang, right? It's 2 ends to a stick, and we have to liberate it so that it can become purely itself and find its fulfillment, whatever that is going to be. And how it works out doesn't even matter to you, right? It really isn't all that important. It may not even fulfill itself. Not every plant grows to fruition, right? And that's okay. Some plants, they're not supposed to. They don't do anything. They're not for food or anything. They don't even look good. The only thing they do is replenish the soil so that the other plants can grow. Sometimes some desires arise in us just to transform the inner environment that makes it more possible for us to be present with the bigger ones that come. I just notice that feeling of being, if it shows up, I feel like being, just say, oh, there it is. Love you. Oh, I just love you. Some part of you wanted me to be so good and so pure and keep me so safe that it inspired this feeling of being a hypocrite to make sure that I was always aware of what I was doing. It's the safety mechanism again. So now let me re-educate that, because I don't need that particular strategy anymore. Awake, not woke. I like that. Awakening is actually a realization, like finding out there's no Santa Claus or your wife's been cheating. Well, more, yeah. Well, actually, or that you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. A little bit better. Yeah. Finding out there's no Santa Claus or your wife's been cheating is not particularly That's not really what the awakening feels like. Um, but I guess I guess that's part of the deal too. Yeah. I mean, better to know it than not. Yeah. Better to know the truth than to be living, living a lie, living something that isn't true, because there'll be an innate lack of satisfaction in it. And that feeling of satisfaction, of contentment, of being right where I belong, without comparing it to anybody else, including Buddha or any great teacher you know. Just, I'm right where I am right now. My mission is to become content right where I am now. This is the only place it can happen. Jennifer, I feel the anger, the tears, and the joy of knowing these emotions are playing and just need to play out. Felt heavy this morning after allowing these emotions to flow. I feel better now. Yeah, even the heavy ones. And as we mature, even the heavy ones won't shake you. They won't rock the boat. All they'll do is inspire even more love in you. And isn't that what? Don't we want that? Don't we want opportunities to awaken more love in us? Well, what better opportunity than to be present with your own uncomfortable, unhappy feelings, right? And to see them as they actually are. Life protecting life. That's what it is. And we just need to show it that what it's trying to protect us from no longer exists. It doesn't have to do that anymore. And most importantly, we have to stop beating it up. It has to come to see that we're safe. I'm safe in my own skin. It can trust me. I'm not going to be condemning it, pushing it away, telling it that's a bad feeling or a negative emotion. I'm not going to be beating it up because it's trying to protect me. I'm going to be embracing it as it is. And thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for being what you are. You're amazing. Human life's not possible without you. This vehicle of self-expression wouldn't exist without you. And I've not been listening to you. My bad. Sorry. And that's the whole thing behind Ho'oponopono, right? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I've been forcing it into a defensive posture by trying to fix it and change it and get rid of it and call it bad or suppress it or anesthetize it. I've been telling it exactly what I don't want it to be told. I want it to know that it's loved. I'm doing what mom did to me. Okay, maybe I'll stop doing that. That's the inner space of love. That's inner reconciliation. And that is what brings about the healing. Always. That's what brings about transformation. That's what liberates our self-expression. Because until it's safe to express yourself and your nervous system knows that it's safe to express yourself, it's not going to let it happen. It's dangerous. Don't do that. Whenever you do that, you know what mom does. But mom's not here anymore, and I love you, and I'm not going to do that. Oh, yeah? Prove it. Okay, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to stop all the self-castigation. I'm going to embrace you for what you are, the functioning of life, protecting life. And do that consistently, and the gates of self-expression will just open wide. Little by little, because it's testing at every step. That's its job. Check the horizon, make sure it's safe, and we can expand the territory a bit. So you no longer feel that way. Yay. Jay says, okay, I'll act a fool right now. I'll be a Buddha the next moment. Yes, exactly. The Buddha goes, oh, look, I was a fool. As the great Zen master and great poet Ryoku said, last year, a foolish monk. This year, no change. Fool for the Lord. Yeah. There's Lisa. Hello, Lisa, the happy, harmonious human. Works on shame is really good, GP. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Robin Waters Dykes. Hello, Robin. Good to see you. Hey. Enlightenment is not a destination. Yes. Yes, Paula. We think of it that, right? We think of it as this achievement. It's a destination I've got to get to. And you can see all that does is put it off into the future and make not now suck, and make right now suck. What else is going to happen? What else can it do? Oh, this moment isn't enlightened. God, I can't wait to get to enlightenment. Right? This moment, oh God, this moment is, it's now, right? You find it now. You bring it to now, right? So it's no longer in time. Nirvana is not a point in time. It's not a destination. It's not the reward for good behavior. It doesn't happen when you finally get it right. It is now. Right now, who you are right now. You are the Buddha. I'm in the presence of Buddhas. That's why it makes me so happy. Giggling all the time. How could I not? I'm in the presence of gods. A little applause. Captain Sanchez, how are you, sir? Absolutely powerful. Thank you. Yeah, great. Karina, a nice heart from Karina. Thank you. From my heart to yours. Mary says, I think my shame was really how angry I was towards that God that I was taught about. But I'm seeing that was all a belief system about a man in the sky, basically the boogeyman. Yeah, basically the boogeyman. Right. Who is going to reward you or punish you, but almost certainly punish you because you couldn't possibly be good enough to get a reward. Right? And the mission of Christ was to show that God was not actually the real God. And that the grace of realizing that there was no such God that was doing that it was pure love, which he exuded in every possible way, is the grace, is the liberating forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. You're already pure. And there's no strings attached to that. There's no need to, make him your personal savior and go to church and do it. There's none of that was there. You look in all the accounts in the Bible, never once did Jesus have that as a prerequisite for doing something for somebody, for forgiving them and the like. The woman taken in adultery, he said, he dispensed with them by, saying, okay, if you're sinless, then go ahead, throw a rock. Nobody could do that. And then he says to her, where are your accusers? She says, they've all gone, Lord. I don't accuse you either. Go. Don't make any more mistakes. Don't be stupid again. And you just see that no strings attached whatsoever. And how many accusers do we have in our own minds? Where are the accusers? They've all gone. I don't accuse you. Go. Have a good day. Dale, I'm feeling dizziness right now, but I'm not creating a story. It doesn't feel good, but I'm just trying to be present with it. Oh, Mary's been having moments of dizziness too. Okay, so just be with it. Right? Engage it lovingly. It's not be with it until it goes. Right? It's just like, whoa, there's dizziness here. I wonder what that's about. What does my body need to do right now? What do I need to do right now? Maybe it needs to move. Maybe it needs a drink of water. Maybe it needs to lie down. Maybe it just needs to sit here for a moment. If there's something serious, I'm sure it'll tell me, right? I'm listening. Give my body permission to do whatever it needs to do. Which means I'm holding love, right? I'm holding the most resonant, powerful, resonant frequency in the universe. That power of love, the resonant, I like that word, the resonant frequency of love. You're holding that. Right? That message is being received by every single cell in your body. Remember, every cell in your body is a living being, like the tree. And every cell in that tree is itself a living body. This is an aggregate of living beings. We're a walking zoo. There are so many, not just the cells, but the biome, right? The little bacteria. There's more bacteria in us than there are cells. It's like, my God, what a miracle and a mystery. And Paula says, I bought into that message. Well, we all did. Yeah, we all did. And the awakening has so much emotional power and release in it because we did. Again, it's not an accident. Nobody made a mistake. right? um, this is how we come to see, to embrace this, the incredible contrast that there is, without assigning good to one part and bad to another. They're a dance. You have to have them both. Jennifer, yes, more love. After a moment of anger, then calling it out, I cried and laughed. Got some great hugs from my little one as he wiped my tears. I did feel love. It's okay that anger was here. Thanks. Oh, beautiful. And what a great experience. The anger comes and then the love from a little one that's nothing but love. Little ones are nothing but love. I go to my son's house. My granddaughter, she's almost 7 now, just spontaneously just run, Baba, I love you. And the almost 2-year-old now is just, I walk into the door and she's on my leg. It's just pure love, just pure love. Werner, out of curiosity, GP, in what ways is inner reconciliation different from releasing the Sedona method? I recognize one parallel, the welcoming part, yet inner reconciliation seems to emphasize the different aspects of the psyche. The process and all the various kinds of things, the release technique, Sedona method, there's the keep it simple, stupid method. They're all around. And well, Dr. David Hawkins wrote the book Letting Go. You hear it a lot in Buddhism and in Zen practice and mindfulness practice. So it is kind of the essence. It's where it has to start. It's the reestablishing of a harmonious, friendly, loving relationship with your inner world, right? Inner reconciliation goes farther by describing that inner world, by giving you all sorts of, it's not just letting go. I'm not just letting go of this because I want it to go away. I'm letting go of my ideas about it so I can see it as it actually is and discover there was never a real problem with it in the first place. That was all a projection of the mind, right? Now you don't find that in the others as far as I know. And I did spend some time. I actually got, went through coach training on the Sedona method. And I found it to be very, very helpful, very, 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 very useful. After that is when I created Just Allow It. And it was a bit after that where I think it got more refined. I like my way better. So there. And just kind of went into a whole lot more detail as to what you're really letting go of is not the emotion of the sense or anything. You're letting go of what you thought it was. And it's the thought about it that was creating the suffering, not the thing itself. And then I, just gradually through the various levels of inner reconciliation, bring you up to be able to understand the non-dual essence of it. Right? That this comes from one, not two, right? It is the realization of non-duality in a very practical way, so that you can see that all of this is a manifestation of, an appearance of, the expression of that one that in and of itself cannot be perceived. It is perceived through that which gives expression to it. That's what manifestation means. A manifestation is not a thing. It is a particular convergence of causes and conditions that make certain things happen, that appear as certain things. If we say it's a thing, like we would say I'm a person, we miss the fact that it's not a thing in any real sense. It is a functioning that is constantly going on. And then we begin to see that it is a manifestation of an invisible power. And that invisible power is the true nature of the self. And I tried to do that through all the different levels of inner reconciliation, as well as introduce EFT and meditation and chakras and all sorts of other stuff, all to give it more depth, to give it enough depth that it could be studied to the degree that you need to or want to, and you won't run out of stuff, but always with the same thing in mind, which is to free ourselves up to be lovingly present with whatever's happening inside of us and in our lives. And that loving presence is the thing that actually heals. All the rest of it is to just get that and establish that so thoroughly that it becomes the default state. Hope that answers it for you, Werner. Andrew, stay in the silence when it comes, and apparently at some point, if you persist, the mind will give up. The mind will, it will begin to conform itself to who you actually are, right? Remember, the mind is simply the functioning of thinking, right? That at that level, right? The psychological mind, the mind that we would like it to give up. And it's simply functioning in a pattern, and the pattern's habitual, and it gets into that pattern and it stays in that pattern until it's like something going through space. It's just going to keep going that way until something taps it on the side and changes its trajectory. So all the thoughts of the mind are organized around this central thought of I am the body, I am this person, I am this persona, that there's actually a person here rather than just a functioning of the self. Now, as the idea of the true self gets more and more accepted, seen as true, and integrating into the body, that sense of self that around which all of this are organizing begins to dissolve. And at first it can feel a little unstable and disorienting, but what will happen is because the nature of the system itself, it will begin to reorganize. Excuse me. Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud. Wow, something got caught there. It will begin to reorganize itself around whatever the dominant sense of self is. So as this is transitioning, so will all the rest of the thoughts. And little by little, the thoughts will tend to be giving more expression to who you really are than to who you're not. But being able to hold to that vision of who you are, even in the midst of the old pattern still happening, and being willing to be with the discomfort of this dissolving because the system is now destabilized. What do I do? Because it's all about being safe. If you can do that, it will eventually reorganize around your next level of understanding, and it will just keep going. It'll keep following you. And little by little, as you get more and more used to that, the disorientation or the discomfort becomes less and less until it's not there at all. It's just, the body's uncomfortable right now. Yeah, something's changing, just like anything else. Like everything else, if I'm doing weights, right? It's adjusting to the weights, right? And then you add more weight. So, vielen Dank, GP. I think that's good. Thank you, Werner. Hassan says yes, and then says, GP, how does one deal with shyness? Well, what is shyness? Right? Remember, all of these patterns that come into our life that limit us, that inhibit us, right, are all life-protecting life. Right? And at some point in your life, there was enough of a shaming of you, a diminishing of you, a pushing down of you, right, that the nervous system simply says, we're not letting this guy come out and be seen. We got to hide him. We got to keep him behind this. So in any situation you go into, it's going to pull you back, right? Even if you really, really want it, something you really, really want, it's got to stop you from that, right? So that's the first thing you see, that it's not an enemy, right? It really believes that it's more dangerous for you to be self-expressive than it is for you to just hide back here, right? And it was true. At the time it came to that conclusion and implemented it as automatic behavior, it was obviously true, wasn't it? It was obviously true. because that was happening to you. It did need to do that. You did stay small. You did stay in the background, and it kept you safe. So now it's time to first acknowledge this. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me safe. And I know you're still trying to keep me safe. But I want to be more free. I need to be more free. That danger isn't there anymore. Now, this is something I do use EFT for, because it really helps the nervous system open up to the possibility, at least, that it doesn't need that anymore. And this is what has to happen. The nervous system has to become convinced on its own terms, which is energetic, that it is no longer necessary to restrict you. Remember, it doesn't want to do that. It wants to be in the expressive mode as well. It definitely wants that. Your body wants you not to be shy. It wants to have relationships. It wants you to have success. It wants you to have the ability to, show yourself unapologetically. It's got to be convinced that it's safe to do so. The first step in that is allowing the feelings without judgment, to recognize them for what they actually are: life protecting life. And this is just how it had to do it at the time. So now you become you become adept at showing that it is safe. Right? It is safer than it was. And together, let's see how safe it actually is. And that's where a technique like EFT, which I use, really helps open that up, because the nervous system has to come to see it, even though you know it is. And one of the ways in which you can actually inspire that is, one of the ways in which the nervous system keeps us shy is to even shut down our desire for self-expression, our desire to ask that person out on a date, our desire to ask for a raise, our desire to look for a better job, or whatever form it might be. It's going to actually make it hard to even want it, because the more it can keep it down, the less opportunity there'll be for you to actually inadvertently do something that's going to get you hurt. So recognizing that, you now see that that's all it's trying to do, and then you say, well, this is what I actually want, and you give some time to the desire that the shyness is trying to shut down. And that's all internal, right? You don't have to do anything yet. You just have to start giving time to whatever it is you're trying to do that you feel so pulled back by this shyness, which is just a form of fear that I'm going to get hurt. And so if inside there's you're taking away from it, in a safe environment, one of its tools of suppression, which is to just not want the desire at all, right? To not even have that. So if you start doing that, say, yeah, God, I really like that. That would really be nice. You'll immediately feel the resistance to it. You say, it's okay. I'm not doing it. We're just here. We're just thinking about it. And you honor the fact that it's life protecting life. And you just be with that. I really do want this. And let yourself want it. There's a new energy in there now, right? And now suddenly it can't keep you safe simply by suppressing desire. Now desire has been liberated. That's now in the mix. And there's an excitement behind that. It's like, oh my, I could actually experience this. This would be really great. I could actually experience that. And of course, nerves said it's not safe to do that. And now you can go, well, let's see if it's safe. God, you should really be in my looking class. We're in the shame course. The looking class, I do work with people on stuff like this, one-on-one, as many people I can get done in a session, because it is a group. And I do it every week, once every Wednesday. And it's a subscription. All right, we're doing a commercial right there. Elsie can get you in the looking class, and that's all it is. There's several people here that are in it. Or join the class I have on shame, which is the same thing. It's where I work with people. Here I'm just answering questions, right? But in those other places, in my classes and workshops and stuff, I can actually, where am I here? Comments, banners, go away. Right. I can work with you in making you feel, make you actually have an experience of it. Believe it or not, it's not that hard. I gave a live workshop at one place, and there was some guy who was terrified of public speaking. And he said he was terrified. I was sitting in the back. I said, "Really? Okay, come on up. Come on up." I brought him up to the top, up to the stage, and we just had a little conversation. And we started tapping through it and the like. And he's repeating what I said. I got into this state, and I said, "Okay, I want you to read this. Read this to everybody." Right? And he started reading it. And at first he started to be scared. So I stopped and we tapped a little bit more. Eventually the fear just dissipated. And then I actually I was starting poking him, and I was doing all sorts of stuff, and he was gone. He was quite comfortable being up there. So it doesn't take a long time for the nervous system to get the message. Once that message is clear, and once you are truly behind it, then it goes, oh, it's safe. Shoo, I don't have to do that anymore. Boom, and it just lets it go. And that's when we flip from the defensive to the expressive, because that's the first job of the body: stay safe, stay in one piece, right? The second job is express. Express the self, express who you are. Let's see. Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank means many thanks. Thanks. I got the thank part. I didn't know what vielen was. Jay, I would ask myself things like, when you finally get this, what's life looking like next? Right now I could see, well, this is what's going to happen. If I'm lucky in this moment, I'll be in the moment. Recognizing that thought. Yes. Yeah. Just be here now. That's it. That's all there is to this. It's not a judgment of the quality of what's here, right? It may suck, right? You go, look, this moment sucks. This moment is definitely not in the vibrational alignment. This is not where I want my life to be. And you can see that those can coexist. I can have the desire for improvement and growth and more success and more stuff and all of that, and be completely and totally okay with what's happening right now. They're not incompatible. As a matter of fact, this is the true nature of things. The self is infinitely content and infinitely expressive. It is not expressing because it needs something. It's expressing something because that's what it damn well does. That's what it is self-expression. And everything is the expression of the self. And we experience that spontaneous appearing of creation as desire and fulfillment, because the spontaneous act of creation has to appear over time in order to have form. So the appearance is desire. It's God's desire that's coming up. And so there it is. And that doesn't change the fact that this moment is fine all by itself. It is perfection. It's perfect yet continuing. It's what it is. It's the only way I can express it. And yeah, your mind's going to go, huh? So thank you. You'll get it later. Andrew, thanks, GP. You're welcome, Andrew. Many thanks, Jern. Feeling dunk. Am I right? Werner, the universe must have said go time. There's no way back. A flood took it all, and standing in the most truth of the now, the unknown, my emotional state is all I can be choosing. Anger was here, not now. Yeah, that's exactly correct. But when we say I could choose a different emotional state, it's true, right? And we want to be discriminating and choose the happy thoughts over the miserable thoughts. But it can't become a trying to push away those thoughts. Instead, if they're embraced but with love, they can transform. because they're no longer forced to be that. They can transform into something else. And you'll find yourself having more and more just positive thoughts about things. You'll find yourself attracted to higher and higher realms of achievement and understanding and growth. And it doesn't mean you're going to get somewhere. It's not like there's this ultimate place you're going to get to. It never stops. It's just this forever unfoldment of that which is infinitely perfect, but perfect doesn't mean static. Mozart wrote perfect pieces of music. No editing even. Certainly wasn't static. There was always another and another and another when they finally died. I mean, when Beethoven died, he was working on 10th Symphony. Right? It's like a dream. It's going to end when it ends, and it's not going to be tied up in a neat little bow. So, yay. All you can, yes, is, yeah, you can just choose to be present with what's here, recognize it for what it is, and also be present with your desire for it to be better, improved, right? They can occupy the same space. Eva, thank you, G, for beautiful tea time. Just after I'm going to the class replay of yesterday. I was not able to be there. Ah, right, that's right. You weren't able to be there yesterday. Mary, thank you, GP. Wonderful satsang. David, thanks and gratitude. Thank you, guys. I totally get it, G. I'm having a laugh along with you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we've run out of questions. My precocious folks have finally been satiated. More applause. Have a great job. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. It's so good to be here with you all. And do check out my Patreon. I've had some more people join in, which is really helping, especially now because everything we're doing now is supporting both me and Lisa. It's not like we live together and can share expenses. We live in 2,500 miles apart. And bless her heart, she has completely devoted herself to this, to homeschool, to this teaching, this kinds of approach to health, healing, and life. So if you guys can, see it in your heart to give a little bit of a regular donation to keep this going. I want to keep it all going and not monetized and free and low cost to people around the world. So thank you all. Love you. I love you. I love you. Till next time, 2 weeks. See you.